Hi there. This is Off the Shelf. My name is David Batsoff, and today I'm joined by the author of this book, which is published by HPH, Walking Wild, Hiking the Length of the Kruger National Park, Jose Neves. Jose, good morning. Welcome to you.
Good morning, David. Great to be here. Thank you very much.
It's only a pleasure. I have to tell you, I took your book with me. I've just recently come back from a trip and sitting on the banks of a very fast-flowing Olifantsrivier, I got stuck into it. Did it give me a need to walk the Kruger? No, not really, but that's just me. I'm not into primitive walking. But tell us why. What made you wake up one morning and go, I'm going to walk the length of Kruger National Park?
Okay, so how that happened, back in, it was 2018,
Mhm.
um, I was at the Letaba rest camp,
Right.
and for the first time ever, that I was aware of or saw it, they were advertising walks in the Kruger National Park.
Mhm.
But those morning walks, it's you basically hike for 1 hour out
Right.
with two guides and then 1 hour back. So, but I really enjoyed that morning walk in the Kruger National Park. To me, it was quite special. Now, I'd grown up uh, uh, um, when I was a kid. My dad took us to the Kruger National Park, and you couldn't get out the car and
Yeah.
keep the windows up, that kind of thing. So to walk in the Kruger National Park was very special to me.
Mm.
And then about 2 days later, I was at a bird hide near the Letaba. And as I was leaving the bird hide, I saw this poster, and it said, "Following the footsteps of giants, hike the length of the Kruger National Park." And it had this map with a line drawn from the top to the bottom. And because I had enjoyed that morning walk 2 days before so much, I thought, this sounds interesting. Let me find out a bit more. And there was no phone number, just an email address. So I made
Right.
contact, and I managed to get into a group that we're going to start the following year in 2019, because it's a 3 year exercise. You cannot walk it in one shot, because it's over 600 kilometers of hiking, and it's unsupported. You have to carry everything on your back, all your food for a week at a time, a tent, change of clothes, and everything. So that's how it happened. I heard about it, or I saw that post in the Kruger in the bird hide, and I made
Mm.
contact, and I got into a group.
But now these groups, the hike itself is actually auctioned off, and I was quite stunned and amazed to see that it was 95,000 Rand. Now, is this over the 3 year period? Is this, it's not per person, is it?
No, okay. So how it works, and this concept of a hike to the Kruger National Park was led by Louis Lemmer,
Mm.
who's the chairperson of the Magalies region of the Sandparks Honorary Rangers. And he conceived of this idea, and he's brought it to fruition. So one of the key drivers for this is to raise funds for the honorary rangers. And
Right.
we can talk a bit more about them later, and the amazing work that they do. So it goes to auction in October of every year, and they can only sell 5 groups per year. Because as I said, it's walked over 6 legs, about 100 kilometers each leg, from a Monday to a Saturday, and over a period of 3 years, because you walk 2 legs per year. But at the auction, you bid, and the price that you pay at auction is just for the first leg. And every group has 8 people in it, so you can divide the cost of that by 8 people. Now,
Okay.
that 95,000 Rand
Mm.
is what our group bid back in 2018.
Mm.
The price now, and also because it's become more well known now and renowned,
Always a
uh, uh,
problem, isn't it, Jose,
yeah,
when
yeah,
something takes off?
yeah, that's what happens. So the price now, if you're lucky, you might, and depending on the auction, because they auction 5 groups, and you can take a chance or not.
Mm.
But anything from 150,000 Rand to about 280,000 Rand.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
just for the first leg. Of course, you can divide that cost by the 8 people in the group.
Yes.
The the following legs, the remaining 5 legs, there's just a fixed cost to pay for the 2 armed rangers that will be
Okay.
leading you. and also for fees for the Kruger National Park. So only the first leg goes to auction, and that's to raise funds for the honorary rangers.
Fair enough. Otherwise, I thought that it was, if you put all that money together, you can climb Kilimanjaro, you can climb Mount Everest for 1 million plus.
Yeah, now that you talk about that, this is very different, and it's going to be forever
Yeah.
far more unique than climbing Mount Everest. I can tell you, there've been over 12,000 ascents of Mount Everest by
Mhm.
about 8,000 different people. So many people climb it more than once.
Yeah.
And hiking through the Kruger National Park from top to bottom is never going to reach those numbers, because only 5 groups a year are sold, and it takes 3 years to do.
Yeah.
And
So
in our experience, our group of 8, for example, only 4 of us managed to walk it end to end without interruption.
and those are the
You
four.
know, those are the 4. Yes, so that's Ari on the left. That's Jennifer, and next to her is her father, Lawrence van Art, who was the guy that went to auction without having a whole group put together, but he was so interested and committed to doing this thing. He went to auction, and the only person that he knew would do it with him was his daughter. And then I was lucky to be able to join that group, and then that's me on the right. And that's at Malalan Rest Camp on the Crocodile River, where when we
Right.
finished as well.
Your book talks a lot about footwear. And footwear, people think, as you mentioned earlier, you go out for a day walk or for an hour walk, you can wear whatever you're wearing, your regular sneakers. But hiking the distances you do, and it was only sort of a couple of pages into the book that I realized that sort of a 20Ks a day hiking in that bush terrain is not easy. It's not just a walk through Delta Park or, around your local suburb. Why did the boots take such a hammering so quickly, Jose?
Yeah. So, up in the north, Crook's Corner to Punta Maria, Flat Blast Ranges, etc.,
Mm.
it's not too heavy on the boots. But once you get from Apani Camp southwards, like towards Satara and then down in the south, the boots take a much bigger beating, because there's more grass,
Mm.
because there's more water down from the center to the southern parts and also the topography is different.
Mm.
So there's more grass, and where we can, we do follow animal paths because it's
Yeah,
easier,
of course.
and it's better. But many times animal paths don't always go where we want to go, generally south. So many times, a lot of the hiking is done through long grass, and you can't actually see what's underfoot. And especially in the central parts of the park,
Mm.
it's very rocky on the surface, which you
Yeah,
can't see through. So your boots, you kick rocks. It's uneven, and so the boots take a lot of strain. And then don't forget, you're not hiking with a day pack
yeah,
or nothing. You're hiking with the equivalent of a cupboard on your back. You've got, and it's at least plus water. And you should start every day with about 4 liters of water.
that's already
And
four
remember,
kgs
one
before you've
liter,
even set off.
1 liter weighs about a kilogram. So you're starting the day with anything from 20 to 24 kilograms on your back, and the boots take a lot of strain because of that. So in my case, for example, I bought the second chapter of my book tells you about a hard lesson learned about my boots. So I bought new boots, and those boots that I hiked, so they were new. Okay,
Mhm.
I did a 3-day hike in Tsitsikamma in preparation, which was, I mean, it was about in total about 25 kilometers.
Right.
But my boots only lasted 3 legs. I had to buy new boots up to 3 legs, so around 300 kilometers. So I
Okay.
think, like, walking in a park or at home on a normal, like, kind of easy trail, they'll last a lot longer. But in the
For
Kruger,
sure.
with that weight on your back and the terrain that we walk through, yeah, a couple of 100 kilometers is all that they're going to last.
You know,
But while I'm speaking about that, I can tell you, some of the guards walk in sandals. They prefer that,
yeah,
and um, yeah, it's more comfortable for them. They do a lot of hiking. I mean, this is
mm,
their profession. So just to
yeah.
let you know that They obviously special sandals. They're not sort of home type of sandals. They're
Yeah,
built for that, but they do prefer that, some of
there,
them.
there are a couple of mentions made in your book of people ending up walking in flip-flops for one reason or another. And those sort of things don't last very long in the bush. And thorns come right through those. In fact, they'll come through a boot. And I know that you
Oh,
allude to that in your book as well. I love this picture of these ellies because one of them has spotted you, and is
yes,
making very sure that they know exactly where you are.
yes. So I got into trouble over this. And in fact, my book talks about 4 different incidents where I put myself in the running for a Darwin Award for
Yeah.
my silliness and stupidity, and this was one of them. So what happened? Yeah, this was at the end of the first day on leg 2. This
Mhm.
is called Macho Villa Spring. It's actually a hot spring,
Right.
but very sulfuric, that water. And there are three. There are only 3 places in the Kruger National Park where there are hot springs. This is
I
one of
didn't
them.
even know there were, to be honest, until I
Yeah.
read your book.
Yeah. Well, they're all out of the way. I mean,
Yeah.
tourists won't go there, and people don't go there. I mean, we went there because we walked through the bush to get
Yeah.
there.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah, but I'll tell you, I think I mean, this was on leg 2. I still hiked another 4 legs after this, and years have passed. But I think my one water bladder in my
Mhm.
backpack still smells of sulfur from this spring, because that water was terrible. In addition to that, you can just see the spring in the background. I'm not sure, you can't really see it in this picture, but it's not
Mhm.
such a big spring. It's a size of, if you put like 2 or 3 motor cars together, it's
Okay.
that size.
But the
And
Ellies like
that's the
it.
only place up there in the north where there's water for tens, maybe 100 kilometers. So
Mhm.
at night, as you see here, or towards the end of the day, many animals come there to drink. It was also the only place we could get water that night, because
Right.
we were going to set up camp just to the side of this in some
Mhm.
temporary trees. And so it was getting dark and we needed to get water. So we went, there were no, elephants kept on coming and going, but there was a break when there were no elephants at the water. So we rushed there. But we weren't finished. We didn't have all the water we needed, and another herd of elephants was coming to the spring. So we had to run away.
Yeah,
And
because
this picture
Ellies
was
do not like sharing water. They're
not
not
at all.
interested. No.
So this picture was taken while we were sitting on this bank on the other
Mhm.
side of this little rivulet, and we were watching them. So somebody took this picture. But so these elephants do everything in that water. It's not a big pool, and
Mhm.
the smaller elephants rolled in it, they wee in
Yeah.
it, they do everything in it, and that's where we had to get our water after that. So it was the one time, we don't always have to filter water, but after the water from this spring, we had to filter because the elephants had been rolling in it
I'm
and
sure
walking in
you
it.
did.
So there was a lot of sediment and stuff in it. And then obviously we had to put in purification drops, but none of that
Yeah.
helps with the rest of it. That water tasted terrible.
There's always,
When I used it for cooking my normal food that night, I didn't have to add salt or pepper. I tell you, it just flavored it.
and talking about water, this is your guides digging for following on the spoor of elephant who dig for water if they can't find it. And you guys just seem to have made the hole a bit bigger and scooped out with cups and plates.
Yeah. Yeah, this was the source of this kind of situation was a source of much of the water that we drank in the Kruger.
Mm.
So as you can see, just behind it there was a pool of water, but that's what it
Yep.
looked like, green slimy. Elephants won't drink out of that, and if elephants don't drink out of that, neither should we.
Yeah.
So often what we do, as you can see here, is that we find an old elephant hole,
Mm.
and then we dig ourselves. And it's actually it's an amazing feat of nature. So when you dig a hole, and what Pete Wilson was doing there is digging a smaller hole, and then we find flat stones, and we make a sort of box,
Mm.
and then we scoop out that water, which starts off very dirty and
Mm.
colored. And once that water's out, like in an instant, crystal clear water seeps in, and that water we can drink. So it's naturally filtered underground,
Mm.
and some of us prefer to be safe, and we still add purification drops
Yeah,
to it.
because you don't want to get the runs.
Others, yeah, others didn't bother. They thought the water was so crystal clear and beautiful. There's no need to put purification drops in it.
Now I know because I've read the book that you guys showered occasionally. My question to you is, why bother? You all smell the same. You're together for a week. So when you get to the end, you can utilize the shower at the hotel or the rest camp and get it all off. But no, you guys want to stand in the freezing cold and miserable conditions and then still pretend to get clean.
Well, let me tell you a couple of things. First of all, you can't always shower,
Mhm.
but if we get to the place where we decide to make camp early enough and the sun is still up, we do set up showers. So we carry, because we've got a group of ladies, I mean, our group of 8, it contains some ladies. We carried 2 showers. It's just a rolled up plastic bag, and what you do when you get your water, you fill it up, and the bag is black. If the sun is still up, and you leave it lying in the sun, the water actually warms up by the time you shower. So it's very refreshing.
Yeah,
But
right.
just by the way, so we don't all shower. In fact, there's a picture in the book of it's Ari's legs. It says that Ari's legs. This is not
Yes,
a
I saw
tan.
that.
So Ari, he's the guy sitting, the Kingsley Holgate lookalike, sitting and
Yeah,
standing there right in front of the tree. That's Ari. Ari didn't shower at all. So he was one of
right.
those guys. He preferred to do what you suggested. No need to shower, but most other people did.
I'm just,
And I can tell you while I'm talking about it. Yeah, that's it. That's Ari's legs.
and the
They're
caption says,
absolutely.
Ari's legs, it's not a tan.
Yeah, that's it. But while we're talking about showers, if I can tell you about just in case you don't ask me, maybe you're going to ask me, but my most special moment in the Kruger
Mhm.
happened in a shower. So it was just south of Punda Maria Rest Camp.
Mhm.
Uh, um, and it was one of those days where we finished early enough and there was enough time to set up the shower. So because they're ladies in the group, you can't set up a shower right there. We hang it from a tree
Mhm.
and we just tell the guards, I'm going to shower so they know where you are and they can, yeah, look out for you. So I was showering and obviously I took off all my kit naked and I looked up and there was an African fish eagle circling above me. Obviously, it was,
Yeah.
this was weird for it. But the most amazing thing, it made its call that iconic
Mhm.
call of the world. And it was just so special to be naked under a tree, water falling on me, and an
And a
African
fish eagle
fishing
calling.
that made its call. And I looked up at it, and I can't be, I mean, I can't be absolutely certain, but I know, I felt it, that we made eye contact.
Fair enough. The fish eagle, I believe, tells a whole different story. When it got home and said, "You're not going to believe what I saw."
Yeah, that's it.
I always wonder, Jose, just as a quick aside, what animals think of us? Do they go back to their flock, their herd, or their pride and go, "You'll never guess what happened to me today. I was down at the waterhole and X, Y, and Z." And you have to think if they're sentient beings, they've got to know what's going on. Speaking of which, this hike, and for people who are thinking of doing it perhaps, is not about going out there to find the big five. This is going out to enjoy nature at its most primitive. Um, and if you bump into something, and then it's a win. I mean, you walk through a lot of ellies, but you don't seem to have many predator interactions, cats specifically. There were a couple, but not as many.
Yeah. That is true because if animals first of all we walk in single file, no
Yeah.
talking. The the two armed guards are in the front,
Mhm.
and we are behind them in single file. And while we walk, and you cannot talk or make any sound.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we stop for a group, we do that. But the reason for that is safety, so that the guards can hear if there's animals up front.
Correct.
But the truth is, especially if the wind's from behind you forward, you won't see any animals, and especially the cats and the stealthy animals,
Yeah.
because they'll move out the way or they'll crouch down and hide. They don't want to be seen. They don't know who you are. They don't like the smell of man, as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
So, and even elephants will move out the way. So in fact, if you want to see animals, rather take a drive through the Kruger. You'll
I
probably
was
see
about to
more
say
animals.
that's the easiest way. And snakes, because I know puff adders are very lazy and they're easy to step on.
And that is a big danger. So fortunately, I mean, we only walk from about March to September, the cooler months, because it's too
Mm.
hot to do this in the other months. But because, as I said already, you're not always following animal paths. You're just trudging through the bush
Yeah.
many times. If for the guards, there is a risk of puff adders. And puff adders is the biggest risk. All the other snakes will tend to
We'll
move away.
move. Yeah.
And we did, if they are in your way, but we did on two occasions see snakes.
Mm.
One with nobody was able to identify it because it was so quick. But the
Yeah.
other one that was on the Salati railway line, we did see. I forget now what kind of snake it was, but that one it was quite amazing. It actually sat on the rocks because all that's left of the Salati railway line is the ballast. Those tracks have been moved away many
Mm.
years ago. And it was it's sunning itself on the rocks, and we were all amazed. We stood around and it didn't move until it had enough of us, and then it slithered away.
Just can I just get back to something you were talking about the guides that walked with you, and both of them are armed normally with 4.58s in that area because if you want proper stopping power, um, and both guards, armed guards, walk ahead. It's not one in the front and one in the back, which people think, because then if there is an incident, the guy at the back can't shoot because he's got 8 people between him and the first guide before whatever it is that's barreling down on you. So the guides, for people who do walks and who wonder, the guides are always up front. So if something untoward happens, they're both standing next to each other. They know exactly where the rifles are pointed and they can deal with the situation.
Absolutely. So there's no danger at the back. Uh,
Yeah,
um, I mean, this is not, you're not dealing with humans, you're dealing with animals. So in a military situation, if you, yeah, that kind of situation and in single file hiking, okay, in that situation, everyone will have an
correct.
arms, but over there may be danger from the back because you're dealing with humans who may want to take you out. In the park, that's not going to happen. No lion, for example, leopard's going to wait for you to walk past and take out the person at the back.
When you turn
And that's
around and
why,
there are only 7 of you,
yeah.
6 of you,
So
five
that's
of you.
why, yeah, yeah. That's why, for example, if you need to go, if do the call of nature, it's always done at the back. So if we need normally we do that when we stop, but you always
Yeah,
go back out the way from where you've come from. You never go ahead and find a quiet spot to do that. And also the reason why the two guards walk in front, and this has happened yeah, fortunately not very often, but especially elephants are the big risk. But it could happen with a buffalo or a hippo. But
mm,
they'll stand about 1 meter or 2 meters apart. And in the case of an elephant where there have been shootings, that way they can both shoot at the brain from
yeah,
both sides.
because you want that animal to be stopped immediately.
Yeah, because if you don't stop it, yeah,
Things are going
you
to
won't.
happen.
That's right.
Now, we spoke earlier of flip-flops, and here you are adding to your notebook, which I suppose added a couple of grams to your backpack. You couldn't have been too happy about that. But feet, I should have imagined, are a problem. You've got to be careful with your feet, clean them every day, make sure that the blisters are treated. And I know you syringed them while screaming.
Yes. Yes, with methylate.
Right.
So it's very, very effective, but it's very, very painful. Just for an instant, a couple of seconds when it's injected. And the reason why, the reason why I was in this situation, uh, um, was, and there's a good lesson here. You know, I didn't take a stool, and many
Ah.
hikers do take stools. So when I put my boots on in the morning. Often, if there's a log or a rock, then you sit on it and I bend over and tighten my boots very tight. But there were a couple of occasions where, for example, we're on a riverbed with nothing to sit on. And so I'd sit on the ground
Mm.
and I didn't have enough leverage to tie my boots tight enough. And that was the problem. I got a blister. But the other mistake that I made is that as soon as you get a hot spot, you should attend to it. And I didn't do that. So I hiked for days on end with a hot spot. They just got
Mm.
worse and worse until it got to this point where I did need treatment from one of the guys. But
And
after
there,
that, just by the way, after that, I did buy. So from leg 4 onwards, I had a stool.
it took.
All your listeners, I can tell you, if you're going to hike long distance, it's
Mm.
absolutely worth it. Those stools are made of lightweight material. They probably weigh about 400, 500 grams. It's
Mm.
worth taking it. As you can see now. So when this picture was taken, that's me just to the right of the fire with my back to the
Right.
camera. But
With a stool.
no, by then I had a stool.
I'm glad you eventually learned your lesson. And the other thing you guys did was when you started your hike, you each picked up a rock that you carried with you, and four of you left at the end.
Yes. Yes. So we were told when we were at Crook's Corner on the day when we started to pick up a rock. A rock's too strong a word, a small
It's a
stone. To
stone. You're not
still
going
carry
to
this.
schlep boulders
We had to
with you.
carry this. Yeah, we had to carry this thing all the way to Malalan rest camp. So over 600 kilometers. So that's the
Right.
stone that I picked up at Crook's Corner. And this picture was taken on the last day at top Tralabai Hill,
Mm.
which is very close to Malalan Rest Camp. And over there, a cairn has been built. So all the hikers that have gone all the way from Crook's Corner to the finish can place a stone on the cairn. So that's mine, and I wrote my name on it and the date on it.
Would you ever be able to go back to visit the cairn just to see how many names have been added, or maybe even if it's still there?
No, it will still be there because you know this is an ongoing program now, organized by the Honorary Rangers. So almost so from March to September, almost every week there should be a group coming through there, and
Okay.
they'll also climb up Lullaby Hill. They'll play those that have carried it from Crook's Corner will place their stone on the cairn. So it is there, and it's grown. It should be growing. I'm not sure how big it is now. But I would like to go back. Obviously, I can't, I can't just park a car nearby and take a walk up there. Can't do that. So
Okay.
if I do go there again, I'll have to do it as part of a group. But I do have the right contacts for that, and I'm seriously thinking about it. Either doing the whole thing again, not right now, in maybe
Mm.
2 or 3 years time. But I could also, there are often openings because the rate of attrition is quite high. The group of 8 that starts up at Crook's Corner, some people over a period of 3 years, things happen, and then
Yes,
you
obviously.
gaps, and the groups are often looking for somebody to make up the group up to 8. So if I wanted to do it, I could do it almost any time. But yes, I'd have to walk from Lower Sabi to that hill to see the cairn.
And what do you guys get at the end? If you climb Kilimanjaro, for instance, you get a certificate. I suppose something similar if you do Everest, you run Comrades Marathon, you get a medal. Is there something at the end that you can walk away? And I know that on your wall behind you, you've got from your eye that framed pictures of your Iron Men or Iron Man competitions. So is there
Yes.
something that you come away with? Did you bring a stone that you didn't put on the cairn that you've got on your desk type of thing that you look at every day?
Now that you mention it, well, first of all, you shouldn't leave anything behind except your
Yep.
footprints, and be
Yeah.
very diligent about that. And you also shouldn't take anything. I did make one exception, yeah, with sanction or the authority of the guards. We, when we went to the confluence, which is where the Olifants River and the Letaba River join, just before
Right.
the river then flows into Mozambique. There are no roads that go there. Nobody goes there, but we were there because we had hiked down the Olifants River to that point. We made camp close to the confluence, but it was still a bit of a hike. And then some in our group, one of our guides, Pete Wilson, offered, he said, if anybody has anything left today and still want to do another little hike, obviously without our backpacks, we just had to take some water with us. He led us to the confluence. And we
Okay.
stood, but it's high up on a ridge, and we
Mm.
looked down at where the Letaba River and the Olifants River come together, a very special place. But the amazing thing about that, right at the top, there was there was a field of stones of amazing shapes and colors. And our guide said if we wanted to, we could take a little stone from there as a memento.
Mm.
So I took this stone. I should have had it with me. Yeah, didn't know you were going to ask me about it, but it's shaped like an arc, and I
Ah,
have it on my desk. It's just
there
around
you
the
go.
corner here.
The only
So,
reason I
so
asked you that question is when I came back from Kili, I also brought a stone with me. We weren't meant to, and I know thousands of people take, but what's one?
yeah.
The book,
But if I can just finish your point, because you
yeah,
asked me, do we have a mentor? That was something on the side. But from the honorary rangers, yes, I
yeah,
received a wooden box, and inside was a certificate.
that's right. Yeah,
And another very special thing, there's a small carved elephant.
wonderful.
So that's very precious to me.
Jose, we've run out of time. This is what happens when we're having fun. The book is called Walking Wild, Hiking the Length of the Kruger National Park. There is an appendix at the back which will tell you what you shouldn't take, what Jose didn't take, or what he's telling you to do now before you even read the book, which is published by HPH. Buy yourself a stool. Start with that and then work from there. Jose,
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining me here on Off the Shelf. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I look forward to reading about your next adventure.
great. Thank you, David. I've enjoyed it very much, and thanks to all your viewers.
Cheers for now. This has been
Thank
Off the
you.
Shelf. My name is David Batsoff, and until the next time, thanks for joining.